Hello, everyone. I'm Alessandro Cavazza. I'm an ATSI member. I'm a coordinator for the ATSI Next Gen members. And I'm very happy to welcome you from Piazza Navona, Rome, where life is getting back to normality. As you can see behind me, we are back to life finally. And it's an honor to introduce to this last session of virtual tours around our historic houses around Europe. I'm very happy because we have just behind me Palazzo Lancellotti, which is one of the most beautiful ATSI houses around the city. And happy to see you. I leave the word to my friend Nicoletta, who's the owner of one of the most beautiful and most special houses in Sicily. You will love her visit. Ciao Nicoletta. Have a good day to everyone. Bye bye.
Buongiorno a tutti, sono Nicoletta Polo Lanzatomasi da Palermo, da nostro Palazzo Lanzatomasi. Hello everyone, I'm Nicoletta from our Palazzo Lanzatomasi in Palermo, and I'm very happy to take part in this Facebook live visit organized by the European Historic Houses Association. Here we are in one of the libraries of our palazzo. You can see here many books. They all belong to my husband, Gioacchino Lanzatomasi's paternal and maternal families. There are also many books in Spanish because my mother-in-law was Spanish and the daughter of an important Spanish diplomat and bibliophile. I will show you then my beautiful mother-in-law in all her beauty. Here we are in the ballroom of the palazzo. Our palazzo was built at the end of the 17th century atop the 16th century Spanish city walls. All the palazzes built facing the seafront of Palermo were originally casemates, Spanish military buildings. The palazzo was then transformed into a religious college and then became a private property, private palazzo. In 1849, it was bought by Prince Giulio Fabrizio Tomasi di Lampedusa, the paternal great-grandfather of author Giuseppe Tomasi di Lampedusa, and the future role model for the main character in the leopard, il Gattopardo. Giulio Fabrizio bought it as an investment and sold half of it in the native brokers. They decorated the palazzo according to their personal taste, and they put here in the ballroom and in the next room a wonderful parquet floor. This is a unique example of parquet period wooden floor in a palazzo in Sicily. All the furnishing of the room come from my husband's family palazzo, Palazzo Lanza di Mazzarino. We have here, for instance, this beautiful table dates back to the 16th century, was made in Rome, and it's inlaid marble and pietra dura. It comes from Villa Palagonia, Villa in Bagheria, and it used to belong to my husband's grandfather. Giuseppe Tomasi di Lampedusa was my husband Gioacchino's distant cousin and adoptive father. He moved here at the end of the 1940s, because his own family palazzo had been completely destroyed by the Allies' bombs in 1943. Palermo was razed to the ground by the bombings, and 70% of the buildings of the historic center got lost. Giuseppe lost all of his furnishing as well, apart from some paintings, there are some here, and what is contained in the library, in the historic library that we are going to see after. To the library, I want to show you my beautiful mother, my beloved mother-in-law, Conchita Ramirez de Villaurrutia. Here is her portrait, together with her eldest son, Giuseppe, my husband's eldest brother. She was funny and witty and intelligent, and she had never been in a kitchen her life. She used to call the kitchen that room with the white tiles. So I didn't have to compete with her in the kitchen. Her mother was another great beauty. She was a rich lady from Guatemala, and she used to live between Paris and Biarritz. She was a patron of the art. All the young artists at the beginning of the century were her protégés, including Pablo Picasso, who made these two lovely portraits of her. So this is husband, grandmother, maternal grandmother, another great beauty, as you can see. In this room, apart from many antique paintings, we have also a few contemporary artworks. These are all models, maquettes for opera sets, because Gioacchino was an opera manager, and he always loved to commission the sets for his opera to famous artists. So the maquette in the middle is for the Rossini opera, Cicade, and it was made by Arnaldo Pomodoro, the very important Italian sculptor. The one on the left is by Robert Wilson, the American director. And it's for an opera that Gioacchino commissioned to Philip Glass and what Wilson called the Civil Wars, for their own opera. But let's go back to the ballroom now, because I want to show you something very important. Here we have the original manuscript of the leopard, of the Gattopardo. This is the complete manuscript that the author copied shortly before dying. He died in July 1957. Then here we have the typescript and the draft of the fourth part. And this is the very first edition. Il Gattopardo was published in November 1958 and became immediately one of the bestseller of the century, one of the most important novels ever written. These three little objects, an egg cup, a cigarette box, and the matchbox, are practically the only object that survived the bombings. Palazzo Lampedusa, as I was saying, was completely destroyed. And they have the coat of arms of the Tomasi family, a lion rampart with the crown of prince, and the motto, which says, "My hope is in God, spes mea in Deo est." And we are now moving to the historical library of Giuseppe Tomasi. In this room, he brought whatever he had managed to salvage from the rubble of his palazzo. And his beloved history books, mainly biographies and memoirs. They're all divided by language, so the French, the English, the German, the Italian, of course. This room remained intact since 1957, since the death of Giuseppe Tomasi. We didn't change anything. There are his books, the few paintings that survived the bombings. And again, we find the wonderful parquet floor that was put here by the previous owner of the Palazzo, the Paces. The painting there represents Saint Jerome, and it's by Jacopo Palma il Giovane, a famous Venetian painting, and it's a very notable work of art. Let's move to the following room, where we have a very interesting collection of fans. These are mainly French 18th century fans that used to belong to Gioacchinos and the Countess Divina di Mazzarino, Duchess of Sangro. And they're absolutely stunning. You can see they're all handmade, of course, then painted. And the back is also decorated. So we can see it from the following room. An entrance hall where there are some portraits of early ancestors. And here we are in what we call the Museum of the Tomasi family. We are creating a kind of museum with all the documents, paintings, portraits, objects belonging to Giuseppe Tomasi's family. First of all, let's meet Prince Giulio Fabrizio Tomasi di Lampedusa. As I was saying before, the great-grandfather of the author, the paternal great-grandfather, and the model for the main character of the leopard. As in the novel, Giulio Fabrizio was an amateur astronomer, as you can tell from this telescope. There are also here the portrait of Giuseppe's maternal grandmother, her parents, and the great-grandfather of the maternal great-grandfather of the. In the glass cases, instead, we have some documents related to the Tomasi family in the 17th century. Giulio and Rosalia Tomasi, in 1637, founded the city of Palma di Montechiaro, near Agrigento, and in 1638, they were proclaimed Dukes of Palma. We have the original document, arch document, signed by King Philip IV of Spain, where the king gives to the Tomasi the title of Dukes of Palma. It's the title that Gioacchino inherited from his adopted father. In the glass cases, we find the portrait and some books related to Saint Giuseppe Tomasi, the son of Giulio and Rosalia Tomasi, who became a cardinal, that's his proclamation to cardinal, and the first biblical philologist. He was the first to start a philological translation of the Bible directly from the Hebrew, without considering Saint Jerome's Vulgata translation. These are documents about the uncle of Giuseppe, Carlo, the brother of Giulio, and here we have the portrait, some books about the Venerable Crocifissa. She was one of the daughters of the Duke. She took the name of, she was called Isabella and took the name of Suor Maria Crocifissa della Concezione. She was a mystic, a poet, and used to speak with the devil. The devil once wrote a letter to her describing the horrors of it, and also tried to kill her by throwing a big stone towards it. She just raised her hand and the stone remained in the air. When she died, she was proclaimed venerable. So we have a venerable and a saint in the family. This room also contains the catalogue of Giuseppe Tomasi's library. In this book, he described and catalogued all his books, the books of his library, until the war, until Second World War. You know, it survived the bombs. As you can see, it's not in perfect condition. After the war, when Giuseppe moved here in the late 40s, he started a new catalogue, which is here in this cabinet, and he divided the books, catalog, and using cards. So like, it was a more modern, so to say, way of catalog. So like the real library. And so we have all the books. Unfortunately, this book got preserved, but we still have quite a few. Here we can admire the back of the fans, and some other fans are on one side, so the glass cases there. And this room has the only scene with the fresco that survived the war. Unfortunately, the bombs had damaged the roofs, and through the roofs passed the rain that made most of the ceiling collapse. So this miraculously survived. This is the end of the 19th century. We restored it, but still in decent condition. And there are paintings of the 4 continents, all except this. And this is another interesting room. We're changing completely style. This is a series of charts, nautical maps, that used to be in the yacht of my husband's grandfather. He had a great yacht called Louise, with which he used to sail all over the Mediterranean. In fact, we call it the Mediterranean map room. There are mostly British rooms, and here you can see perfectly Sicily, Malta, Lampedusa, who was another property of the Tomasi family, hence the title of Princess of Lampedusa, and Pantelleria. Our tour is approaching to the end, so we are going towards the marble staircase, which is the official entrance to the piano nobile, to this floor. This staircase used to be in a convent that was about to be pulled down to make space for the building of the opera house, Teatro Massimo here in Palermo. But the shipbrokers, remember the owner, the previous owner of part of this palazzo, knew the convent, and before it was destroyed, they brought here the staircase. It's all Sicilian marble, and the red marble, of the banister, is very rare. Actually, the quarry is extinguished, so it's even rarer. And it contains a lot of fossils. I don't know if you can see this perfectly preserved ammonite. And this is quite funny and unusual object. This is the model for a chariot of Saint Rosalia. Saint Rosalia was the patron saint of Palermo, rescued the city from a terrible plague in 1624. So every year since on the 14th of July, the day of the discovery of the saint's bones, a great festival is organized, and an impressive procession of the cathedral to a big chariot, triumphal chariot is built. This is the model of one of the first chariots that had been built for this procession, and it was rebuilt in 1970 during one of. Here we have more early ancestors. I want to leave you with this beautiful lady, and she was a great grandmother. Bracelet. I'm very proud of it. I forgot to wear it now, but and I think it didn't fit with looks. And she was a celebrated beauty of her time. Now, I hope that you enjoyed our virtual visit. I do hope that you'll be able to come and visit me for real very soon as the world will become friendlier for travelers. I pass to Kalnoky Castle in Romania for another virtual tour. Arrivederci.
Jó napot kívánok, Isten hozta, bună ziua. Welcome to a tiny little village in the middle of Transylvania. We speak Hungarian here, and it's Romania. And this estate, which I'm going to show you now, is owned by the Kalnoky family, an old Transylvanian aristocratic family. My name is Tibor Kalnoky. The special part of this estate is that it is scattered all over an entire village. Not only one manor, which you will see at the end, but also very beautiful parts of the village itself. And our family project is to revive the village and to make it sustainable for the future. I will show you around the houses, the guest houses, where we usually welcome guests from all over the world. And while we're going from one house to the other, I'll also tell you a little bit about the historic background. So right now we are sitting in one of the social spaces for our guests in one of the houses in the village. It's still a bit chilly, so that's why I have my pullover, and we have fire in the chimney, in the fireplaces. In our places, you will have a look around here, perhaps just once around. As you will notice, there is nothing modern here, so there's no IKEA, and we just try to revive all the old objects and the antiques. It's full of painted furniture, and now I shall show you the wine cellar. So we are also having a restaurant here, but it's all very much private. I mean, private atmosphere, nothing feels commercial. I'll precede you into the wine cellar. It's a bit dark down here, so you might need a bit of time to accommodate the eyes. Here we also have a billiard room. A fireplace in the middle of the room. And this is where we usually have common dinners, or we had common dinners before COVID struck. This table is much larger. Usually we're about 12 people on the table. Now it's smaller, and there are little tables a little bit everywhere to accommodate the new sanitary requirements. Now we will leave through the secret trap door and go to the kitchen. Maybe if you go first. The way we renovate our houses is with the old material and most of the old skills. So we have a whole crew of workers who have been working with us for the last 20 years and who are very good at keeping those traditions alive. Here is the kitchen and the breakfast barn. Our guests just had breakfast, as you can see. So in the winter, this is very cozy, with a little séparé here, and this is also where some of our guests can have lunch. Those who come to visit the castle, they come up here. They can have something for lunch. And now we go to a little wooden cottage. So the interesting part of our estate is that you have absolutely every kind of real estate building, from this little blue house that you see in front of us, which is a serf's house, and the serfs were only allowed to live in to use the color blue. And so from the small wait a moment, by the way, do you hear what I'm saying? Yes. Okay. So the serfs were only allowed to use the blue color. You can see the guests are already enjoying the first days of spring. And so this is a typical serf's house. Maybe if you go in front it might be easier, and then I'll join you inside. Open the door for you. So this is one of our traditional guest rooms. With painted furniture, and everything is original and antique. Even the bed covers are about 200 years old, and everything is taken care of with great love and passion, and we hope that our guests also do the same when they stay with us. Everything is comfortable with a bathroom, so modern comfort but in style, together with the traditional atmosphere. So this is one part of our estate, and now we will also show you the village pub. Here now at the pub, we're trying to cater for everybody, not only for guests who come to the guest houses or people who come to the museum, also for village people. And all our guests are very welcome here in this little medieval quarter, as it looks like, with lots of terraces and little corners and séparés where people can sit out when it's nice, which is very welcome now in the pandemic. Global warming, unfortunately, is taking its toll, so we decided to adapt one of the estate's horse sleighs into this little bench, which is very welcome with kids who come to stay with us. They're more agile than me, I'm sure. And here we can go inside the pub. After you. Here you see quite a cozy atmosphere. It's a little bit dark, but all the more cozier and warm. Now, each house has its own story in the village, and this is one of the very old houses. You see it's out of stone, and usually the story of the houses are written in the main beams. This house here has two beams that are inscripted. If you can have a look up here, the first says that this house was built by Gyenge István and his wife in 1810. The second beam, interestingly, says that it burnt down in 1816, so only 6 years later, and was rebuilt within a few months. So you will see all the houses in this village have the date of construction in the main beams, and we now add also the main restoration data, so who restored it and the date of the restorations. Here we are arriving into the bar of the pub, where I will receive, thank you Csaba, as our manager, and I receive a little glass of wine, which is much needed right now. This is also a reception where everybody arrives. Out onto the terraces again. Outside we have carriages waiting for visitors and our guests. And from here, after I had my wine, we can go on to another part of the village with very nice houses, and where you can also see work under construction, and then the manor. So here we're at one of our restoration sites, so that you can see what the houses look like before we take care of them. Here we're just cleaning the old tiles, which will be put back on the roof. This is one of the old houses, log houses, which will be renovated. And on the other side of the street, you'll see the ready houses. And unfortunately, the guests are always parking outside. You have to shoo them away and tell them to park in other parts. Here you see the facades. This one is from 1850, the beautiful old wooden gates. And inside are the guest rooms. After you. So this is one of the quiet courtyards. We have six rooms here, and I can quickly show you one of the rooms, but I also see that our little owls are up here. Maybe if you can try to zoom on the baby owls that are living in this tree. One of them used to come down to get fed, even as the parents are taking care of them, but one of them is very intelligent and came down to get a little bit more to eat. So here's one of the typical guest rooms again. Follow me, please. If you look over there, the original wood-burning stove, this is also at least 200 years old. Painted furniture, old beds, but with new comfort, with mattresses. This table here is also about 300 years old, so only antiques and refurbished old furniture. Good. And now it's time to go at last to the manor. So here we are at last at the manor grounds. I hope you can hear me because I'm competing with the frogs. I'm very excited right now. So historically this is the oldest village of the region, which is called the Székler land. Széklers are Hungarian people who arrived here in the High Middle Ages. Our family was documented as the chieftain of the Széklers back in 1252, and we've been around ever since. This is a Renaissance manor house, a hunting manor that we built in the 1640s. And you see the nice exterior decorations which we could restore, the beautiful stone carvings, and the park could also be restored more or less. This is now a museum because we wanted to show an ex-communist country what the interiors of a castle might have looked like. From here, this is the old main entrance. You see the French garden as it was in described in 1698. And you see the gazebo, which had a double function, which was a sort of a defense mode, but also a decorative element of the garden. So, we're in the manor. The family's motto is carved in stone, non est mortale producto. And now, after you. Inside the manor, we tried to recreate the atmosphere of what it might have looked like when it was lived in. It's wagon style, meaning that one hall opens into the other. And the bedrooms could only be established in the towers like this one here, with the nice old door frames. Very special are the wood burning stoves, which were recreated after the bits and pieces that we found at archaeological digs. And we recreated these stoves. They are working, and they have been recreated with exactly the same techniques as originally in the 17th century. This is the main palace hall where the judge was making jurisdiction. Over there is a portrait of my 9 times great-grandfather Samuel Kálnoky, who was the Chancellor of Transylvania. Here again, a very, very beautiful stove replica from the early 17th century. You'll also find very nice stucco decorations inside of the windows. This room here was the room of the lady of the manor, where she had a nice balcony to make handcrafts. the room of the Lord of the Manor, which was last inhabited by my great-grand-uncle, who is depicted on that portrait there. He was a great hunter, and he initiated 9 duels and survived them all. He was a bit of a choleric. And then here the last salon is the Altdeutsch salon, so end of the 19th century, Victorian style, you would say, in England. So very heavily carved, yet very comfortable furniture. And again, in the tower, a lovely bedroom. Personally, I always like the cellars best, so let's have a look downstairs. Below stairs, the kitchen. Follow me. Take care of the head. So we are arriving to the kitchen quarters. Where we recreated the old kitchen with everything is functional, so the bread oven here and this cooking oven is also working with wood. And from here we go into the main room of the cellar. Which is a bit like a knight's hall. And here we can have large gatherings. It's a bit of a labyrinth down here. Another fireplace which we recreated from the 16th, 17th century with our crest, which is a bear shot through the mouth with an arrow. This was a manor that was a little bit fortified, so it had to withstand sieges from marauding bandits and Tatars, and it had to be able to sustain itself and to defend itself. So that's why we have the water well inside of the house, in the cellar. Now let's go out terrace. Full south, so it's very, very bright, which is a beautiful place to stay. Here again the moat, and from here I would like to say slowly goodbye. This is one of the 3 villages where my family is present right now. Maybe there will be an occasion to show you the other 2 villages. One village where we have our main house, which is a bit larger than this one, which I'm working on right now, and another village where we have a collection of houses which we accommodated for the Prince of Wales, where he comes every year to stay for a week to refill his batteries. We feel very honored that we could host the European Historic Houses Facebook Live event, and from here I guess that you will fly over all the way through Europe to Sweden. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.
Dear all, hello to everyone. Sorry, we are having a little problem at the technical level. I hope we will start again. We missed just one house, which is in Sweden, so hope you will be able to wait a few seconds because it's really worth of. We hope you enjoyed the others, the previous ones, and hope to see you all soon, and hope you enjoy the project as well. Goodbye.